Hi, I'm Ashliey Wasson, owner and founder of the Oahu Lux Homes team brokered by eXp Realty. My team and I are so excited to be bringing you relevant and current real estate and community information. So make sure that you like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for your support. Enjoy.
Aloha kakahiaka. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today is February 17th, and I'm your excellent host, Peter K., and got a great show for you today. Actually, going to be a really interesting one. Got a lot of things planned out for you, and let's do a quick thing of our lineup. We got some really cool Hawaiian music that I picked out, and we're going to go through our news and market update. They're actually, gang, that I think there was an earthquake on Oahu, but we'll see. Anyway, we're going to go through that, and we'll get your questions. We've got a couple of really good questions that I've lined up, so we're going to go into those. We're going to go over some diamonds and deals. These are properties, real estate properties that our experts have picked out that are worth your time and looking at. All right, so today's going to be a lot of fun because it's Dylan here today, and we're gonna have a good old time. So, and it's going to be an interesting show. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, you and I haven't had a chance to rant for. Oh wait, look at that! Ashley's coming in just right now. How do you like that? All right, let's warm up these microphones. Let's warm up the audience. What's going on the Big Island, sir?
Well, first thing, I'm out of my element, so I ended up coming down to the office. Totally forgot it was Friday. Did not wear my Aloha shirt, so I'm out of uniform today for the show, and I apologize. But the show must go on. It's a rainy, wet day over here in Kona. We got this storm moving through the islands, and it's still. I was just on a call. It's a mainland group that I'm in, and everybody's talking about how cold it is even in California, and I'm like, well, it's rainy and ugly here, but it's still 75, so I guess I'm not complaining at all. So it could be a lot worse, but just we needed the rain. It's been a very, I think we talked about the last show, it's been a very dry couple of months, really dry winter, and the good news for me is that I can go 3 or 4 weeks without cutting my grass in my lawn, which I always appreciate, because in the wet months, like every single week, the grass grows 12 inches in a week, so you got to always be cutting it. But there's Ashliey.
The rain is I think this has been, to my memory, this has been one of the combination of wettest and coolest winters I can remember. There was a cooler winter a few years ago, but not a wetter one. But this is a combination of wettest and coolest winter that I can remember kind of in some time. Ashliey, you're on the windward side of Oahu. We're getting a little bit of rain today. How's it on your side, and what's going on? Welcome. I'm glad you made it.
I was on a great call. When you have a really good call and you get all excited. So it's a great call. The rain this week, it is the rainiest and coldest winter I've experienced on the windward side, but I did live on North Shore in Wahiawa for a combined 10 years between the two. And for the short time that I was in Wahiawa, it was so cold that I understand now why the old houses there had fireplaces, because I would have to put my daughter in fleece and get those little hand warmers. And I'm from the Northeast. And you could see the breath, the cold air coming out of your mouth in the house. When you went outside, when it got to 11 o'clock and the sun came out, warm, toasty, you're sweating again. So I felt like I was in the Northeast all over again, just switching my clothing based off of being in my house or not. Kailua,
man,
comfortable, cozy.
I have never seen that in Hawaii, not once, with like your breath that you can see. I've never seen that. So yeah, well, Hawaii gets cold because you guys are a little bit higher in elevation over there, but.
And I had the aluminum shingle roof. So the aluminum shingle roof with the single wall house, it let the house breathe, and it kept the house so cold that I would go outside to warm up. It was wild.
That's cool. Well, that's old school, right? Old school construction. That's how you kept the house cool, right? The tin roof or the aluminum roof or whatnot, right? With single walls, and that's how you did it. Hey, we have a bunch of our friends who have joined us over here. So let's say hello to everybody who's with us here. Paul Lucas. Paul has become a regular. Hello, cold and brisk, Ventura County, California. Paul, what's the temperature there? I'm kind of curious. Like, cold and brisk is always relative, right? And She Who Laughs is back with us. Welcome back. Great. And Joan Valentine, who's got the coolest last name on Valentine's Day. I don't think anyone's got a better last name on Valentine's Day than Joan Valentine. Welcome, Joan. Auntie Joan, as we call her. She is an alumni and a pillar of the Islander Ohana. She's so like the wise mom, the wise auntie, as part of our group. Pat is back. Patrick McKenna, welcome. Patrick, aloha from Honolulu. Looks like another rainy day here in the islands. Yes, it's another rainy day, but No place else I'd rather be. That's for darn sure. And Patrick, hey, Patrick, haven't seen you for a long time, buddy. Welcome back. Aloha all. With my schedule changing several months ago, it's been difficult to attend the bi-weekly broadcast, but great to be back today. Great to have you back, buddy. Welcome back. And Heidi's still on her honeymoon. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Joan. Heidi is out today. I don't think she's on her honeymoon, but I think she's catching up with the after honeymoon workload. So Heidi let us know that she's not going to make it. I should have mentioned that earlier. So thank you, Auntie Joan, for bringing that back. Judy is back with us. Judy is an alumni of the Islander Ohana, and Brigitta is with us. And what great to see you, Brigitta. She is going through the Islander cohort with us right now, and she's actually got a question that we're going to talk about. And so it's great to see you again. And 59 degrees. Okay, yeah, that would be cold. That's cold. You're definitely beating the Hawaii thing. All right, gang. Let's move on. We got our musical choice here for you, our Kanakapila. What do we got over here? Oop, let's do it this way instead. There we go. Brothers Casimiro. Man, it's kind of funny, Dylan, and Ashliey, as I was going through my favorites, I realized I'm kind of like stuck in the 70s. I'm like in the golden years of Hawaiian music. Stuck in the 70s, maybe because I came here in the 80s. But man, Brothers Casimiro, gang, if you have not listened to Brothers Casimiro, you simply haven't lived. They are fantastic. They've got some of the most they've made some of the most classic songs, and if you get the playlist, you'll enjoy it. So let's do this. Turn on your Alexa. Get your iPhone close so Siri will hear. Get your Google phone close to the speakers and so you can listen. So let me take control of your Alexa just for a minute. Here we go. Alexa, play music from Brothers Casimiro. All right, and now we'll do the iPhone, folks. Hey Siri, play music from Brothers Casimiro on Pandora. And then get your Google ready here. Okay, Google, play music from Brothers Casimiro. Try those guys out, gang. Let me know what you think of Brothers Casimiro. Dylan and Ashliey, I don't know if you guys make any comments on my old choices for Brothers Casimiro, but they're one of my favorites, man. Unbelievable.
Definitely the golden era of Hawaiian music.
Golden era. Yeah. Golden era. I mean, unfortunately, one of the brothers passed away, so there's only one left. But golden era, man. I saw those guys live, and they were just like amazing. I met one of them in person once at a TV studio. Okay. I got some. Okay. Oh, and who's, of course, Jim. Jim. It's just not the show. It's just not the same show without you, man. It just ain't right without Uncle Jim. So I'm glad that you're back with us. Good to see you again, Jim. Let's cover some news here. I got some interesting things over here, gang, that I kind of want to share here with you. So first of all, they're talking about the tax deduction for mortgages on second homes could disappear this year. So I'd be curious if Dylan and or Ashliey want to share anything that's been going on with that. And I don't know if you guys caught. Well, I got the last second here. I got earthquake there in the things. I wonder. Hey, Ashliey, did you feel there was a slight earthquake yesterday at around 2:30? Did you feel it?
No. Did you?
Yeah. I actually felt it. I was washing dishes, and it felt at first like it was like a low, like thunder, like a really big thunder, but the whole house shook. The whole house shook for a few seconds. So it's unconfirmed. So I looked at this website. There's an unconfirmed 333 other people reported as well, but it did not make the news. So don't know. Maybe we could chat about that later. So but yeah, it was
that's
weird.
Interesting. Anyway, if it's big enough to be heard and it didn't hit the news, that's interesting.
I don't know. I felt it, and 333 people have felt it as well. I discovered that when I tweeted about it. Okay. Hey, by the way, gang, did you guys, I don't know if you saw this. I'm curious. Did you all in the national news, did you hear about the big green lasers that came? We had some, apparently there was a story about that. So check this out. You see that above over there? There was up at the Mauna Kea telescopes caught this array of green laser beams with sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their heads came over, and apparently it was spotted over Alaska, a Mauna Kea telescope, and They say it was a Chinese satellite doing a weather analysis, and of course we all know better than that, right? But hey, we're not going to speculate on the show because we don't do speculations. So anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting story that you guys want to hear. Okay, Big Island Resorts. Want to hear Dylan comment about this? Big Island has no surprise actually, but several of the resorts on the Big Island. One of them that they mentioned was the Four Seasons Hotel. Is they rated as in the top, rated number 6 in the top best hotels in the USA. Dylan, if you've ever kind of stayed over, I'd like to kind of hear what you think about that. Oh, and here's another kind of a fun one here. It's an octopus. Stop petting the octopuses or the octopi. Is it octopuses or octopi? I'm not too sure, but stop petting the octopus. Apparently there's a petting zoo. So check this out. There's an octopus over here. Oh, hold on a second there. Okay, so there's an octopus over here, and you can see that someone's petting it. And apparently there is a Kanaloa octopus farm on the Big Island, and now they've been given a cease and desist letter. You can't pet the octopi. I suppose you can go out there and stab them and kill them and eat them, but you can't pet them. So I'd be interested to kind of see what comes out of that. I just thought that was an interesting story. And then finally, a kind of a cool story that you guys might enjoy here is it's talking about petting zoos and feeding zoos. Paia in Maui, this really fun sign, "Don't feed the hippies," is really kind of interesting. There's a sign that this is not an official sign, but I thought it was hilarious. Someone posted a sign in Paia, Maui, and it's "Don't feed the hippies." And if you look at what that sign says, it's really actually hilarious. So they got in all kinds of trouble. Of course, a couple people got offended, but it must be a thing there in Paia, because if you see on the right-hand side there's a an Etsy person is making making bumper stickers. Welcome to Paia, don't feed the hippies. So
That's funny.
Isn't that great?
That's
Don't,
so funny.
it's hilarious here. I've got to zoom here. I could read it from here. So the sign says, Paia hippies are on a strict diet of couscous and angel dust. Hippies are opportunistic and will take advantage of the most convenient food source available. Feeding leads to higher population and epidemics of disease. Hippies can be aggressive and are dicey at best. Take warning. Do your part. If you care about hippies, please don't feed them. So they, and someone actually thought this whole sign up and did the design. I just thought it was hilarious. So I don't know what y'all think about feeding the hippies, but I guess it's a bad idea in Paia. So there you go. I'm a
hippie. You can feed me.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so damn funny. So we got a kick. There's actually a great episode in there's a fantastic South Park episode about hippies. It's absolutely hilarious. There's hippies are gathering in the attic and they can't get rid of them. It's really, really funny. Anyway, so hey gang, hope you all enjoyed that. I just, something happened to me when I was doing the news, and I just kind of got on a roll, and I just kind of got into it, and I kind of was really enjoying myself. All right, let's do some market updates here. Let's talk about what's going on in the real estate market. Fill us in, and also, if you guys want to comment on that second home tax, why don't we go counterclockwise? Let's go with Ashliey first, and then Dylan. Ashliey, give us an update on the market, what's happening, prices, second home taxes, anything else you want to report on, or anything about Oahu that you want to share.
Yeah, so this is fairly new, right? The information about the Hawaii tax deductions for mortgages on second homes, they could disappear this year. It's called Bill 886, I believe. And so I don't know if it's gonna go through, obviously, but they're trying to preserve the tax deductions for the primary residence, along with the other bill that's being proposed called the About Time Bill. And originally, I don't know if you guys, I think we might have spoke about it on the last show, but it's another bill that they're proposing to eliminate non-residents from purchasing on Oahu, and that was shut down because it's non-constitutional. So now they just resurrected the bill and they modified it for anyone who is not living here as their primary residence, they would get a tax that would let me get back to you on it because I actually just read it yesterday, but essentially it's a tax that's going to go back to the original proposals. They wanted up to 100%, 75 to 100% to go back to the state during the resale. The new proposed tax was, I'll have to get back to you.
70%, some kind of crazy number.
It wasn't that it just goes back state. I'm gonna broke. So Dylan, you come. I'll come right back to you.
So what I would add to that discussion, right? And this is the power of unintended consequences, is you think this is going to help with outsiders buying property, but really what the practical effect that would happen is it would guarantee that outsiders who own property would not sell it. So it further caused problems with inventory and houses coming up for sale. So the thing to remember with all of this, though, my general comment with this is that a lot of people aren't familiar with the legislative process. And the way the legislative process works, which we are in January, the opening of the legislature, is every crazy ass idea that anybody has can be proposed. And that's what happens during the beginning. And legislators will propose legislation on behalf, usually sometimes not their idea, somebody drafts it and gives it to them to propose. And they'll introduce 3,000 pieces of legislation in the beginning of the year. At the end of the day, 150, 200 will become law. So most of them go nowhere. Most of them are crazy and impractical, but they're good news stories and they create a lot of interest and create a lot of drama. And it gets legislators on the news to do an interview and say that they're doing, big things, when really they have zero chance of it passing or becoming law, and they have no intention of anybody taking it seriously. So I think that's the thing that, the takeaway here is that we're in the season of crazy ideas. We're going to continue to get stories like this, and it's not too much to worry about. So,
well, to speak on it, and I agree with Dylan 1,000%. This tax bill, the About Time bill, was re-proposed that instead of on the back end, the non-resident owner, when they go to sell it, that a certain high percentage would go back to the state. They can't use terms like non-residents because it's non-constitutional. However, it's a tax incentive. So on the sale, if they're selling it to someone who's a resident or owner occupant, then they get an added tax benefit for selling to that buyer versus selling to someone who's purchasing a second home or investment property. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think that it actually might pass. I think it's a good solution. It could be a win-win, and it gives the seller the option to decide whom. But I wonder, and I want your opinion on it too, guys. Is that a conflict, right? Because we can't even they're trying to eliminate cover letters when submitting offers because they become biased. You can't mention churches, you can't mention certain children, schools, ethnicities, anything of that nature. And I wonder where this will lie on the ethics side of things when you're reviewing offers and you're, becoming biased to someone who's an occupant or non-occupant. I bet that won't pass for that reason.
Well, look, to Dylan's point, without even going through any of the details or even thinking it through, I can tell you this: there will be unintended consequences. I can guarantee you that. I don't even know what they are, because if I did, they would be intended, right? But there's
and they're using HARPTA as the vehicle, right? So HARPTA currently exists where if you're an out-of-state resident,
what's HARPTA? What does that stand for?
The Hawaii Real Property Tax Act is what it stands for, and so. Okay. There's FIRPTA, which is there's a federal tax. So if you're a non-U.S. resident and you sell property in the United States, there's a I think it's like 5%. I don't know what FIRPTA is, but there's a percentage on HARPTA.
15%. HARPTA is 7.5%.
Right. Yeah, 15 and 7. So the HARPTA tax is 7.5%. So if you are a non-resident of the state of Hawaii, you get hit with it's a capital gains tax, basically, right? So it's a capital gains tax on selling the property if you're an out-of-state resident, but it's not necessarily a tax because it's a withholding. So they withhold the state withholds that money, and then you have to file a return, and you can depreciate the asset. You can do all kinds of things and then end up getting that money back. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to pay any money, but it's a withholding until you file a return and you balance out with the state on what your tax liability actually is. So it's complicated. It's not like an exact way to generate revenue, but they want to increase that 7.5%. Initially it was 100%, and now they're saying 70%. They're gonna walk that back. But one big workaround, which is what most people do when they sell property in Hawaii, is they just do a 1031 exchange, which is a way to defer your capital gains tax. So that exempts you from FIRPTA or from HARPTA, and you just have to go reinvest the money somewhere else. So that would further incentivize people who are selling property in Hawaii that do not live here just to reinvest it somewhere else, which has unintended consequences too. And so there's ways around it. People always find a way around tax law, right? At the end of the day,
actually, to speak on that, when you talk about the unintended consequences, that's exactly the point that I try to make, is that it's only people who are savvy and who have financial literacy will always find a workaround. It's the people who don't. And these bills are put into place to protect the people who don't have that education, or to protect the first-time homebuyer or the underdog, so to speak, but they don't have the education to find the workarounds. And then the people who have the capital are going to always. So it's never going to solve the true problem. And I feel at the end of the day, the issue and where the money needs to be spent and where it needs to be allocated is educating local residents, educating people on understanding financial literacy, home ownership, and mortgages, how to get into real estate. And that should come down to a school level, and it should be in state programs, and it should be available at all community centers. They should put people into schools and have certain seminars about it, make it wildly accessible to the youth and to families. And if they just spent a fraction of the money and they allocated it to that, they wouldn't need to have all of these crazy bills trying to protect them. It won't stop the people who are going to continue investing. They will always find something. They'll get local LLC entities. They'll do something to 1031 exchanges. They'll always find a way.
Yep.
So Ashliey, you're, everything that you said, is, I don't disagree with it. And it actually sounds so good. It sounds so right. But I have to also say there is nothing more horrifying to rely on our public school system to teach people anything. There's nothing more horrifying. Just imagine
here's a great business idea is we can create a holding company that's based in Hawaii to buy all these properties from these people so they can avoid the tax, and then we'll just resell them. Just like there's going to be a million ways around it to entrepreneurs who are creative. So
living it, Islander Ohana LLC. Let's do it. I'm ready. But that all said, I do think there is a kernel of truth of a problem here, I believe, and which is that, look, it would be good if there was some way to incentivize local families to stay in Hawaii and not have to leave in Hawaii. There was a way to incentivize people, local families, to keep the homes, give them to their children, give them to their families, and kind of incentivize people to stay. I don't have the answers as exactly how it would be done, but I think there's something to that. I know that Proposition 13, if I'm not mistaken, in California was an attempt to do something like that, to shield the local homeowners from new home buyers. And of course, the unintended consequences that property values in California like through the moon because no one wants to sell their homes. But that's what you get, right? Anyway, hey, look, this is the land of unintended consequences. Hey, Dylan, do you want to share anything about give us a Big Island update? Ever been to the Four Seasons? Well, what do you want to share about the Big Island?
They don't let people like me into the Four Seasons, but
us common stiffs who don't know how to get around taxes. I know.
It is. I mean, clearly, if you look at the clientele that go there, it's clearly got to be one of the best resorts and it is beautiful. There's just impeccable service and surroundings. And what's great about that, talking about entrepreneurship, right, is all of that stuff was done in the 70s and 80s. They just built it out of a lava field. We've talked about this in the show in the past, right, is the county government was primarily controlled by people on the east side of the island, and they didn't want all of this crazy tourism and outsiders coming in on the east side. So they gave them permits to build stuff on the west side of the lava fields, and they said, sure, we'll do that. And they made these, they developed the whole north coast into just some of the most amazing, beautiful resorts in the world, as an unintended consequence. So now all the money and investment is on the west side, where the east side was trying to protect the east side businesses from all this outside capital. So
wait, hold on. That is I never thought about that story in that way before. That is such a funny story. The East, because Hilo ran the place forever and kind of does. And they didn't want any more development. So they said, here, you go take all these empty, useless lava fields that nobody wants and no one in their right mind is going to want to live there. You guys go ahead and, you could have that. Go for it. And boom, up comes, I guess there was one or two, there's obviously some beautiful beaches there too, but up comes these resorts. And now the Kona side is like the most amazing killer resorts in the world. That is amazing.
It's crazy amount of, it's a crazy amount of money. I was just looking. There's still in the slow economy right now. There's still stuff selling out there for on the regular for $10 million, $7 million homes. I mean homes on a half an acre in those areas. I mean just the crazy amount of money. Just in the last 2 weeks, there's been 7 homes over $4 million that have sold. In those areas. So
incredible.
Yeah, so no surprise. I mean, there's tons of money out there. There's tons of billionaires. We have a separate airport next to the Kona airport parking lot for all the private jets. So anytime you go like during a holiday weekend, the winter time, there's 25 to 40 private jets just sitting there from the people that fly in, for a couple of weeks, stay in their house and then leave, and the house sits vacant for. There's a whole. I have a ton of friends. There's a whole industry economy around maintaining those homes because people are never there, right? So somebody's got to go and check on everything, run the plumbing, clean the solar panels, do all the maintenance, and there's a whole industry around maintaining those high-end second homes. Yeah.
Hey, let's catch up real quick with a few comments that we got, but I do want to ask you guys if there's anything else you want to chat about on the.
Hey, the octopus farm is a great place. I'm surprised. I just looked up the news story about it. I didn't.
They shut them down.
It's so crazy.
It's octopuses. Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure.
My kids have gone. There's always like field trips there and stuff. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, octopus are not endangered species or something. I mean, I don't know what.
As a hippie, they are incredibly intelligent. Like they need tons of stimulation and lots of space. They are like some of the most smarter than dolphins, and dolphins think at a higher level than we could even possibly imagine. Like they're just incredibly intelligent beings. And I think that's the concern, is that they're going to be going crazy. I'm free the animals. I'm free everything. Hashtag free.
Look, hey, and God bless you. God bless you. The irony that came to my mind about this is like, okay, we cannot have an octopus petting zoo, but it's okay to go out there and poke squid, which is a local slang for go ahead and kill and eat. It's okay to kill and eat the octopus, but we can't. But we're going to outlaw petting it. What if you pet it? What if you pet it and then you eat it? Can we do that? Can you pet it and then have it for dinner? Would that be okay? That's just the irony.
I can verify. To me, octopus are the most delicious thing in the reef. Like that's the thing. That's the thing that I choose to. If there's one thing I'm gonna go out there and spear, it's an octopus, because it's the best thing to eat out of the reef. So better than any fish in the reef. Actually, lobster is second, but you got to go at night to get lobster. But during the day, I'm always looking for.
Taco.
Taco is the Japanese name.
Taco. There's a lot of Greek dishes actually with octopus too. But I actually have some kind of an allergic reaction. I can't. I could have like a not hardcore allergic. I just can't eat a lot of it. I could eat like maybe a few ounces, but that's about it. If I go into the 8-ounce category, I'm kind of pushing it. Look, let's catch up on
the side note I gotta make for you one day. So I smoke them in the smoker, and then I make squid luau with smoked taco. It's like the most amazing thing ever. If you like squid luau, man. Smoked squid luau.
Smoked squid luau.
That sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll kind of allay the allergy. That sounds darn good. Wait a minute, but now we have to change this. It's smoked squid luau that was previously petted. That's the key.
No petting involved.
Previously petted, smoked, subsequently smoked luau. Hey, Andre is asking about the weather. Andre, you missed out earlier, bud. We had it's rainy, but not gnarly. So we are good. Patrick says financial literacy is definitely not taught in the schools in Hawaii. Patrick, I think financial literacy is not taught anywhere, including college. It's not taught in college either. There's a lot of people with degrees who are completely broke. In fact, think of the irony. You got people going into college, loading themselves on incredible debt, $250,000 in debt, and they're being incentivized to get degrees that can never pay back. They're incentivized to get degrees whose jobs could never pay back that loan. So there's financial literacy zero right there. Unbelievable. Dry side or anywhere else? I'm not sure what you're referring to there or anywhere else, but I'd like to kind of hear you expand on that. Paul says people have been living and paying taxes in the state for decades, should enjoy privileges that newcomers do not. The Supreme Court disagrees, but what do they know? Well, it's tough. I mean, look, the more things, before the show, gang, Dylan and I were chatting about how the Hilo part of some parts of Hilo Town, the oceanfront area, the bayfront area, has not changed at all. And I'm thinking, oh, that's so cute. It's so rustic. Hilo's kind of cool. You kind of go back there. It's like you're going back into the 50s, because I was comparing some photos from the 50s, and today it looks the same. And I'm thinking this is really cute. And Dylan goes, no, the reason why is because there's government regulations because of the tsunami that was there back in the 50s, 40s. They disallow any serious construction. You can renovate, but the building itself has got to be unchanged. So that's why the place hasn't changed. So government enforced crustiness, government enforced sort of no change. Not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And Judy, I have to admit, I've petted the octopus at kind of low. See there, Judy, watch it. You could be arrested. Don't. It's just our secret. It's our secret, Judy. We won't tell anyone. Just you, me, and the internet that's watching. But we're not going to go there. Okay. All right. Hey, is there anything else you guys want to bring up on the market that's notable, worth mentioning? Any notable market stuff?
The market's slow. That's the headline. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but still this month we're on track to do probably a little bit better than we were last month, but it is extremely slow in terms of number of properties that are selling. So it's a time to get in. It's a time to get in and be involved, because your competition is as low as it's possibly going to be right now.
You have a good chance to make a good deal. Ashliey, is there anything you want to off the cuff that you want to mention that's notable?
Yeah, on that bill about removing the tax benefits for second homes, I messaged my CPA while we were on the call, and I just asked if she heard any news about it actually going through, and she said, they've been trying for 20 plus years. No one dares to change it. So that's straight from the CPA here in Hawaii.
Straight
as far
from
as the market goes, the market is honestly, it's the same as what it's been for the last 4 weeks. It's great if you price something right. It's still moving quick. We have one house, I presented it here, and it was Mililani. It went under market very, very quickly. And, multiple offers above asking price. The other ones like land sit for a while. So I think we're just still in a great opportunity. Ask for credits. We're not seeing massive, there is a small shift. I'd say a couple weeks ago, maybe even 3-4 weeks ago, we were seeing buyers able to negotiate high credits, 2 to 3%. And what credits are is it's when you ask the seller to credit you back a certain percentage or amount at closing to cover your closing costs or cover your interest rate points. You cannot get a credit as a cash or check at closing and get physical cash. If you're VA, you can pay off certain debts. But for other ones, if you ask for, say, a $50,000 credit, or that's a lot. Say you ask for a $20,000 credit and your closing costs or your points only come out to $18,000, that $2,000 would go back into the seller's pocket, not you as the buyer with the difference. So a few weeks ago, we were seeing large credits of 3% or so. We were able to negotiate in contracts. It went down to 5,000, 10,000, which is pretty reasonable still. So rates also, if you guys are following interest rates, they're pinging like crazy. 6 days ago, for VA, it went down to about 5.7 something. I can't quote rates as a licensed agent, but they went down below 6%. And 4 days later, they bumped up back to 6 to 6.5%, depending on your credit score. And then right now, we saw them still hovering for the last couple of days, according to our lender. So they're now back into those low sixes again. But it's a great time because you just float. And then as soon as you get good news in the market and it goes down real quick, it'll probably be for a very short stint. So you lock it in on the downturn because you get interest rate locks for 30 to 45 days. Second note, if you're looking to buy right now and you're currently floating your interest rate because you're under contract, your interest rate gets better if you have a shorter interest rate lock. So if you choose and talk to your lender and you say, I want a 30-day lock, a 45-day lock, or a 60-day lock, you base that based off of your closing time frame. And the shorter the lock, say 30 days, the better interest rate you'll get. So most lenders will quote you automatically on a 45-day lock, but ask them, is this a 30-day interest rate lock? What's the interest rate lock? If I do something shorter, can I get a better rate?
Ask about the lock. Thank you. Get great input, and thank for those updates. Thanks. Dryside is clarifying. I'm just saying that I learned nothing about how to handle my money until I finally started teaching myself. Yeah, that's it, man. Or you get you buy the book, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and you kind of wakes you up. Or you watch a lot of Dave Ramsey videos, and it's kind of weird how like one of the most important things, financial literacy, is like not taught anywhere. Schools did nothing. Yeah, exactly. So, but Jones, on the other hand, about our octopuses, Jones got a solution. Okay, no petting. How about hugging? I got to imagine an 8-legged hug has got to be pretty gnarly if you're able to get one from an octopus. Oh, and by the way, I just want to mention, hey, thanks actually for asking your CPA. That's what I love about the millennials. They have no hesitation, kind of doing a bunch of texting while stuff is going on. It's not exactly multitasking, but God bless you, because other folks wouldn't have thought about doing that because they're like be focused on what's happening. So thank you for doing that. Alex Martin is back. Aloha. I haven't been able to join in the last few weeks. Good to see you all again. Good to see you too, Alex. Good to see you too. All right. Hey, we got a couple of important questions. Well, important. We got a couple of questions, and they're all important, of course, that got asked by our Islander Ohana members who are going through the cohort that are real estate related. This Saturday, we're going through a real estate focused part of the show. So I want to kind of pass this to you guys and get your take here. So this is from Renee, who's saying, what is she wants to know, why are we calling people properties watershed properties? Why is it noted? Why are they labeled watershed? I mean, we know what a watershed is per se, but why are properties labeled, watershed? Can it affect property value? Can it affect closing? How would you respond to Renee? Let's go with Dylan, and then let's go with Ashliey.
I have no idea. Ashliey, you have context? I would need context.
I don't know what a watershed property is either.
I've never seen that referred to. So.
Okay, Renee, God bless you. Have stumped. This is I have to record this. I'm glad we're recording. This is a first. The 2 realtors have been stumped. Maybe we'll ask Heidi. That's never happened ever. No. Very good. Okay.
Well, I just need to see where you're seeing that, and then we can kind of figure it out. But sometimes that's like a mainland term, and it doesn't exist here too, right? So.
Interesting. You know what I'll do? I'll ask Renee. Renee, if you happen to be with us by any chance, if you're with us right now, pop in the comments and expand what you're talking about on the watershed. Where did you see it? What's the concern? But if not, I will find out and we will figure out some more. Okay. Here's another one. Now, this one is from Brigitta, who is, I know she's with us because she said hello in the beginning. And the question is about unpermitted. What kind of problems could you encounter with unpermitted property? She's looking around, finding some properties, and she's finding some that have unpermitted additions, like an additional bedroom or some unpermitted stuff. How does it work on the loans? Can you get loans on these properties? Well, are the banks okay with it? What about insurance? Does that affect your insurance? Why would you or would you not want to avoid or take a property that has some non-permitted stuff on it? Dylan, I think Brigitta and her husband Gary are looking for on the Big Island, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't you take this one first?
We're doing a call later today, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, this I know about. This is something that we deal with on a daily basis over here, especially on the Big Island. So it's a very case-by-case basis situation. I mean, sometimes you have just some minor unpermitted space that causes no issues. Sometimes it's massive. Sometimes the entire structure is unpermitted. So it's really a case-by-case basis. And it also depends on what type of loan you're using. Some loan programs are more strict than others. VA, for example, is pretty strict about permits and permitted space. The biggest effect it's going to have is how an appraiser views it. So if an appraiser views, in most cases, unpermitted space as not having value, and so you may have 2,000 square feet of house, but if only 1,500 square feet have permit records, they're not going to give you credit for all 2,000 square feet. That can cause issues with your price per square foot, which can cause issues for your loan. A lot of times a loan itself, the lender itself is not going to dig too far deep into that. It's more what the appraiser comes back with and how that affects the value of the home and any comments about the unpermitted space. So it's hard to answer that on a blanket kind of overarching level. We do have to kind of look property by property and see what the red flags are. But it is very common. From an insurance standpoint, not that big of a deal. I mean, the insurance companies are kind of going to look at what's there. they are going to look at the tax assessed value and factor that in. But you still can get insurance on on a home that has unpermitted space. It doesn't prevent you from getting insurance.
Got it. So, Ashley, what would you add to this if Brigitte and Gary were looking at homes that that have like unpermitted structures on Oahu? What would you add to that?
I'll be honest, this is going to depend on what part of the island you're on. So if you're looking at a higher end property, say Hawaii Lower Ridge, those associations and those neighborhoods are not really compliant with non-permitted work, but it's extremely common in all islands, and especially in, say, the West Side or the North Shore and certain other neighborhoods, it's extremely common. I'll be honest, I personally own a property and acquired it, and it's a 1-1 on tax records, but it's actually a 3-2 in person with a garage, with 2 rentals that have their own septic pump, with a surfboard shaping room, with a surfboard room, and a fence. None of it is permitted. And as long as we're paying GET tax on the rental income that comes in on it, the state doesn't really matter. But the neighbor will say, hey, I'm going to report that whenever she's, seeing a different color that day and she's grumpy. So I'm not afraid of unpermitted work. I advise my clients, as long as you're prepared, if you do have to ever go back, permit. So say if you're on a cesspool, it's something to be aware of, because if you have a cesspool, you're going to have to upgrade that cesspool to a septic system. And when they come and do that, they're going to see if any of the things on the property are unpermitted. You might have to go back and back permit it. If you have to back permit something, it's 3 times the original cost. Another thing to be aware of, I'm not afraid of unpermitted work. However, if you have a large lot and you're trying to what we call CPR, which is kind of minimize that lot to build or allow more housing, or maybe build an additional structure for yourself, then anything that's unpermitted on that CPR lot will immediately get a violation. So they are trying to crack down on it, but it's so common because our Department of Planning and Permitting is so backlogged and they don't have the best systems in place. A lot of people just have to keep chugging forward. My recommendation is verify if the plumbing and the electric were done by licensed professionals. At the end of the day, you want the things that are going to be the most hazardous or dangerous concerns for your home, which is fire and flooding, done by licensed professionals. And when it comes to the appraisal side of things, that depends on what appraiser gets assigned, to be honest. I'll leave with one last example. I had 2 listings. They were a 1/4 mile from each other. I work a lot with investors who fix and flip properties, and both of the same investor, same seller, same neighborhood, on market at the same time. One house, they lifted the house, they bought it this way. The entire downstairs was converted, so it doubled the square footage of the home. The entire downstairs was not permitted, and it was broken up into 2 wet bar areas. So it had 3 living quarters per se. That's not permitted. And the appraiser actually allocated all of that square footage as livable square footage because it appeared and looked to be done by a licensed professional. It looked and we had licensed professionals who did all the work, and we gave them the contact information. Down the street, same time under contract, the appraiser, this was just a little extension off the back of the house, single level home, very simple. It was a little suite off the back with a tiny wet bar studio. And the appraiser would not give any credit for that space, and the property didn't appraise for full value of what we marketed it for. So be aware when you're looking at property, what's advertised may differ from what's on the tax records, which may differ from what's in the DPP records. Just get a great agent and verify all that info.
There you go. That's exactly what I was going to get. A great agent. Go ahead, Dylan. You got to get a great who knows what they're doing. That's the key.
Ashley's last point is a key takeaway, especially here on a big island, because recently somebody, being just a great neighbor, went and looked through all of the listings that were on the market where people talked about unpermitted space, and then filed like 130 complaints with the county, basically turning all these people in or tattletaling on them. So now realtors have a disincentive to actually disclose that in the public remarks. So we'll still put it in the private remarks so the other realtors can see it, but it's not as obvious to a consumer because when people were trying to do the right thing and disclose it up front in the public remarks, somebody went in and turned a bunch of people in based upon that. And so you do have to have somebody who knows what they're looking for, that has access to the back end of the MLS, has access to the tax records, access to the permit records, to really verify that the permits match what the square footage that's being marketed on the house actually is. So work with a professional.
Work with a professional who knows what they're doing and who's been there, kind of been there, done that. That's to me, where you want to be with stuff. Look, I got a general rule of thumb, gang, on anything that I look to go do that needs any kind of a professional assistance. My rule of thumb is, I want to be sort of client number 100. I want to be client number 100. I want to work with someone who's gone through 100 of me before, and I want to be 101 because that's 100 cycles of experience. That's my rule. Hey, Jason's got a simple question that kind of we may all be scratching our heads too, which is, are there watersheds in Hawaii? I think there's watersheds in general, like in other words, like the Nu'uanu watershed is where there's a kind of a natural pool of water that holds our drinking water. But I don't know if you guys heard of what it's actually kind of an interesting term, watershed. You guys heard of watersheds other than the Nu'uanu? I think I've heard of the Nu'uanu watershed. I don't know if there's any others.
I have heard of like the Board of Waters watersheds.
Right. Right.
But not individual watersheds.
But not in terms of property. Not in terms of property. Yeah. Not in terms of property. So Andre says,
the thing to worry about is flood zones, right? That's different than a watershed, but really that's what we look for disclosure wise is a property in a flood zone, and is it affected by that?
Correct. Andre, is permanent status so that police and fire can have some kind of idea about what they're going into? Perhaps. Andre, I think it's more so. Here's my guess, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Number one is for the tax department because they want to be able to tax you on what's been permitted. The county wants to track that. And they're designed also to keep you within compliance. You can't build structures that encroach into your neighbor's property. You can't have poorly designed electrical, poorly designed plumbing. It's got to pass some sort of thing. So a permitted means that you've gone through the process. It's been inspected. It has passed. Doesn't guarantee anything, but I think that's more of the purpose. But to Ashliey's point, is certainly here on Oahu, the Department of Permitting and Planning is so far way years behind. You have a choice, right? I'm either going to fix the plumbing with a licensed plumber, or I'm going to wait for 3 years to fix the plumbing with a licensed plumber. I'm going to get it done now, and then I'll get the permitting done later, which is sad, but that's what unintended consequences.
One other note on that, that we commonly get asked is, okay, so if I buy it, then can I just get it permitted afterwards? And that's a very complicated answer to a question also, because like Ashliey was talking about earlier, it really depends on how it was built. If it was built grossly out of code, it's going to be, you basically got to rebuild the structure, right? Redo all the plumbing, redo all the electrical if it was built not up to code. And it may have been built to code 10 years ago, but the code has changed and it's going to be permitted based on what's there in the current code. And so that may also be very costly. So that's a very situational dependent situation too, where you can't just buy something and assume I'm just going to 6 months later, I'm going to file for permits and get it permitted, because that may or may not be possible. And it may or may not be extremely expensive to get that done.
And one more thought on the permitting side, and as licensed agents, we never recommend not doing work without a permit. We never recommend buying a property without a permit. So I have my friend caps for my friend cap and my realtor caps when I talk to people. But I will just note that if it is not permitted and everything is done by licensed professionals and it is safe, that you get taxed on what is permitted and existing typically. So if you have that 1-1 and it's 500 square feet on tax records, but in person it's 1,000 square feet and it's a 3-1, you get taxed on the 1-1 500 square feet. So there is a small benefit if it's not permitted that your tax liability, your tax bill will be lower. Keep in mind there's a caveat. I have seen a handful of times where the city and county will see that there's unpermitted work and it's obvious. If they're doing a drive-by or working on something else, they'll actually put that in your tax records as taxable square footage, but it won't actually be permitted. So again, you have to look up and compare the tax records to the Department of Planning and records and make sure those two line up, but you will probably save taxes.
Big Island, they tax what's there, not what's permitted. So you'll see.
They do here too, but most people don't know that it's there, right? So because if they don't know it's there, you don't get taxed on it. So unless if someone brings it to their attention, you get taxed on what's.
Man, I'm hearing a lot of really slippery language over here.
We don't recommend any of this. We're just making you informed.
That's right.
Stay by the book. Do things. Cross your teeth.
Not recommend. How's that? There was a movie where he was told what not to do to walk himself through. I forgot what it was, but some kind of a comedy thing. He walked his way through doing some of the. Anyway, hey, we got a couple of questions over here. Well, first of all, we got some feedback from Brigitte. Actually, Gary, who's with Brigitte, said, "Hey, look, as a geographer, a watershed is an area that drains all streams and rain to a common outlet. Could this be the indicator for mudslides that we talked about last time?" No. So so there's one reason why. Gary, there's watersheds aren't that common here is because all streams drain into the ocean. They just go straight into the ocean. There's no intermediate. The land mass here is not that big. There are a handful of watershed areas, like we mentioned. There are some. The Department of Water Supply has some watersheds on Oahu, Nu'uanu, again, the one I keep mentioning. I don't know if there's any on the Big Island, but the watershed here is the ocean. We just drain into the ocean. Mudslides are mudslides. They come in just from high rains, from the lava rock. The lava rock is it's very crumbly, and so mudslides are, not to say common, but mudslides occur here occasionally due to kind of the continual erosion and rain and wind and things of that nature. It's not due to a poorly designed or overwhelmed watershed. It's just mudslides, just stuff coming down. So look, so Gary, it'd be interesting from a geographer's point of view. I think the Hawaiian Islands would be interesting to kind of examine, because the Hawaiian Islands are always shrinking. Always. They're always in a state of erosion, except for the Big Island, which is still growing. But but the northern part of the Big Island is under erosion. The northern part's eroding away. It's the southern part that has the growing volcanoes that's not eroding per se. But the entire island chain, let's put Big Island aside, the entire island chain has been eroding for millions of years and continues to erode to this day, as of this moment. In fact, right now, because it's raining, this island's getting smaller by the inch. So that'd be something that's interesting. Okay, we got another question here from Jason, who is also a member of the Islander Ohana. And Jason says, "Are 203K loans common in Hawaii for fixing up properties? I imagine it isn't an easy process nowadays with shortages of everything." And Ashley is saying, giving it the big NO. Ashley, what's a 203K loan?
Well, we have loans where you get them to fix up the property and then you have to refinance. So they're short-term bridge loans for you to repair a home, and then you refinance once it's completed into a normal cash out refi, conventional mortgage. And they're not super common here. There's very few lenders that do it. In my 13 years, and this is, sort of my niche, I've seen it one time. They're just not that common. The loan product is not very prevalent here.
Great. Jason, Dylan, is there anything you want to add to that?
Never heard of it.
Okay, got it. Man, that's a half stump. We only stumped half the realtors in the show. But man, this is record-breaking show. Okay, so I see that private message that Ashley sent, which is to refresh the slides. Okay, we'll see if we can refresh those slides there, Ashley, because we are going to go into diamonds and deals over here. So thanks.
You're supposed to read that out loud, Peter.
That's okay. It wasn't that incredibly. Hey, you know what? We just bear it all over here on this show. We just we're fully transparent. It's part of the show. It's part of the entertainment. Pardon me. She Who Laughs says, "Hey, financial literacy is not taught anywhere but in Tennessee these days." Man, that's amazing. That's pretty cool. I'd be interested to kind of see what the statistical outcome of that is. All right. I think so before we move on, gang, we're gonna be doing our diamonds and deals in a moment here. But look, it's sort of like we're coming to the end. We're coming at the tail end of the show here. If you got any questions, make sure you let us know. If you want to know anything, ask us anything. And we should give someone, whoever asked that question, we should get a Renee should get a trophy for stumping the realtors. This is a first. This is like we're going to our third year here, I think, of the show. We have never been stumped before. So stump the realtor. That would be kind of fun. So if you got any questions, send it in and let's hear it. Otherwise, let's talk about diamonds and deals. And I did the research. Okay, so what do we got? Let's see here. This is Ku'ile Place in Mo'iliili. What do we got here, Ashley?
So this is, I have a new listing I wanted to share, but honestly, it's for the investor community. So I thought that I would share this new development. They just released the information this past week. It's been very hush hush due to the nature of this particular development. It's affordable housing. So 60% of this is going to be affordable housing. They're taking applications That's going to be a lottery system. It's going to be broken into 2 different lotteries. And so that's going to be in about 2-3 weeks is when the first lottery, you have to get your application in for the lottery. And so this area in Mo'iliili is like, you see a lot of development happening in Kakako, but not downtown, not here. So this is really appealing to the local families in Honolulu because you're right here. If you look at the map that I put in the image, Manoa, Kaimuki, Waikiki, Makali, yeah, you're so close to all of your long-term family members that are in town. You're so connected. You're in the heart of everything. And this development is being built by the Kobayashi Group. And if anyone knows anything about developers, Kobayashi is a local developer here in Hawaii. They're very well connected, but their developments are so thought out, meticulously thought out down to where the cabinet depth is to the kitchen sink. Everything that they do when it comes to layout is just high end. And so what's so incredible about this building is that it is affordable housing, 60% of it. It's also going to have commercial residential units at the very bottom of the short building there. Everything facing Diamond Head mostly is going to be for your non-affordable housing. And the affordable housing actual term, you have to certain criteria to qualify for that housing, which it would be a whole show in itself. And it's going to be finished being built in 2026. But going back to the Kobayashi Group, they're known for building luxury homes. So like One Ala Moana, Park Place, they're really high-end developers, and they're putting a lot of this design and thought into this affordable housing. And they're doing the gray water in the building. They're going to have an on-site gray water filtration system that'll go back into the toilets and then guard and water the grounds. It's going to have a dog park. It's a jogging path all the way through. It's going to have a karaoke room, 2 personal dining rooms that you can rent out. It's going to have 2 gyms. It has a pool. It's got parking. And on the lower building here, you literally park on the same level your unit's in. And it's got storage units for every single unit. That's in addition to, I mean, just a super phenomenal opportunity. In total, it's 1,005 units in total between the 2 towers. 6 out of the 10 condos will be sold to affordable housing. We can go into what that is if anyone has any questions. The 1 bedrooms for affordable will start at 370,000 range, and the 3 bedrooms will go up to 813,000. You're not going to find a 3 bedroom in town at 800,000 range ever. And then the market units that will be sold at market price, the 1 bedrooms start around 685,000, and the 3 bedrooms go up to 1.25 million and as low as 989,000. And then the live work lofts, which are that ground floor at the bottom where you can have a commercial or a business and a livable unit, those start at 1.2 to 1.25, and there's 9 of those.
Wow.
There's so much more to dive in on that complex, but
yeah, we should almost do like a show. We should almost do a show on the complex all by itself. Get Kobayashi Group to sponsor living in Hawaii for one day, and then we'll talk about it. You know, I'm coughing a lot today. It's an amazing property. I have to say though, as the impartial dude who has no interest in anything, that is the butt ugliest town photo I have ever seen. It makes it look like a gigantic monstrosity that's going to eat the entire city, doesn't it? I mean, it's so giant. I mean, it's probably that size, but they should have taken a better shot because that looks horrible.
I will note that this entire area, the Kobayashi was able to build this in this area because it was all 2-story apartment complexes, and it was a whole bunch that owned by family, and they were able to buy it because you don't normally ever see something like this being built into a community in this area in town because there's no high rises here. So the high rises in these units will get incredible views because there's nothing blocking it. There's a park on the other side. So it is obstructive. It's very big, but they're putting underground electricity for the whole block. They're creating wide sidewalks for the whole block. So it's actually, they're going to put maybe like a Foodland Farms in the bottom there. So it's going to be such a value add to the community. It is large. It is, but it's going to be well landscaped, and they're being very intentional to clean up that whole neighborhood.
I think it's going to, I like as Kaka'ako, for example, has been transformed and it's like way cool, it's way upscale from what it was before. I'm sure it's going to do the same thing. I know this area of Mo'iliili. I have family that used to live there, so I know exactly where this area is. And I'm clear. I'm sure it's going to be, and the Kobayashi Group, etc. I'm sure it's going to be a big upgrade. I'm just commenting that the photo's butt ugly. That's all.
She big. She real big. If anyone wants to go into the
Big.
sales room is interested, you got to come to me so that I can assist you. If you go direct, I won't be able to help you. So if you guys have questions, message me.
Hey, look, anybody who's watching the show needs to go through Ashliey if you guys haven't figured that one out already, for this or any other property. And you are right. I mean, look, if you want to have the most insane views of Diamond Head, and even actually it's going to be crazy. I don't know about ocean views on the other side, but it's going to be insane Diamond Head views. And on the part that we're seeing, it's going to be unbelievable sunset views. It's going to be a kind of a crazy property and built by the best. So glad you brought it up. And I didn't mean to diss what's going on. Just had to comment on it as the impartial guy. But I think it's going to be great. I do think it's going to be great.
You're right. She's big.
Yeah,
she's going to be.
She's going to be big. But it's
looks like the Mandalay Bay in Vegas.
It does.
Yeah, well, here, Aloha Supernova says, looks like the Mirage Casino. There you go, man. The Mirage Casino. There you have it. So no, but look, it is going to be an incredible property, and it's going to be, we don't have a lot of, well, we do have some new condos, but the location is like fantastic. Okay, let's move on. Time to move on. Dylan, what do we got over here? We got
way more simple for me. I just wanted to showcase, what a very nice, relatively new home built in 2017 looks like in Waikoloa Village. Just, beautifully laid out, just a standard 3.2, but great deal at 1.1 million, in Waikoloa Village. And, if you're looking to live in a drier climate and nice community, it's close to the resorts and all the best beaches on the island. This is the place to do it. And this is just a good deal, for relatively almost brand new home with totally modern finishes and upgrades. So that's it.
Man,
Easy.
that is one hell of a contrast there, right? That is one hell of a contrast. But
this is what it's gonna run you. Like if you want to move in ready, nice home in a nice neighborhood, you're looking at 1.1 on the west side.
How far from the beach is it?
It's close. It's like 10 minutes from Hapuna. This is up in Waikoloa Village, above the resorts. So you have all the amenities down below, all the nice restaurants and shops and all that stuff below the resorts. Waikoloa Village was built as workforce housing intention, back when it was first developed, so the workforce would have some place to live while they work down at the resorts. And it's turned into kind of, a higher end community now just because of property value. So now everybody gets bussed. All the hotel workers get bussed from the east side to come work at the resorts because they can't afford to live in Waikoloa Village anymore. So
what's really cool about this house that I like is it's new, but it looks, it looks exactly the way you would see any kind of 1950s kind of classic single wall construction home. But of course, it's all modern and it's all that kind of good stuff. But it looks like it's a classic local style, classic local architecture, big windows, long overhangs, et cetera, et cetera. And Jason, Waikoloa in July, buddy. You know who to talk to. You know how to do it. You're a member of the Ohana. You're a member of the Ohana. You know how that all works. So excellent, great. Hey, gang. Okay, that's it. I think we're coming to a little close over here. So this is absolutely the last call because we got our closing thoughts right now. So look, give us your closing thoughts as well. You all know, the regulars know what this is. We talk about closing motivational thoughts. If you've got some, pop them in. I'd love to hear what you folks have got to say. Let's go and let's hit Dylan's. Go ahead, Dylan. What is it and what does it mean to you?
Just one of my favorites has been top of mind lately, especially we're kind of in the beginning of the year, right? And New Year's resolutions and stuff. But was talking to my kids about just focusing on being 1% better. Everybody wants to see drastic change, and that's not something that happens, right? In a short amount of time. Real meaningful change takes a long time. And if you just focus on being 1% better every day, by the end of the year, you're 365% better. So if you want to see drastic change, just do a little bit. And it applies to both good and bad behavior, right? The flip side of it is if you drink one soda a day for a week, you may not notice it, and maybe even a month you may not notice it. But if you do it for a year, you're definitely gonna notice the effect on your body, and additional weight. So it works in a positive manner and it works in a negative manner. So focus on being 1% better.
I love that 1% story. I've been long thinking about writing a series of books that are kind of that are based on that idea. Like, for example, like one book I was going to write, it was like, how to lose 30 pounds in only 10 years, right? That, is going to, something like that, right? And, or how to be a successful multimillionaire in only 30 years. And then, because kind of go on that theme, it's all based on kind of, the quick hits not going to do it. It's the 1% that is the long lasting. So thanks for that.
Tell me about your 20-year overnight success story, right? That's
exactly. Yeah. I got my, exactly. How to be an overnight success. Yeah. Thank you. How to be an overnight success story in only 20 years. Exactly. Right. Yeah. How to build the life of your dreams in only 40 years. That's that kind of like this, that 1% thing. Auntie Jones got one for us. She's been coming with some gems. Your dreams need you to make them real. Excellent point. This is not a motivational thought, but it's a motivational prayer. I need a miracle to get us over there. Well, dry side, you gotta just follow what Dylan says. Just follow what Dylan says. Just do the 1%. Do the 1% better every day.
Move towards that goal 1% a day, and in a couple of years, you make it happen for sure.
You will make it happen for sure. Exactly. You just basically, don't let go. Don't let go of the dream. What Auntie Jones says, your dreams need you to make them real. Ashliey, what's yours for today?
It seems like we have a theme today. That happens organically. We don't plan these out either, like in advance and see each other's quotes. But whatever reason, what you focus on.
God works it out, man. God works it out. Go ahead. What does that mean to you, Ashliey?
Opportunities don't happen. You create them. So I think a lot of people, we sort of sit back and we're waiting for something to come our way. And we're like, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I'm a firm believer that you have to go create what you want. You have to be really active, and sometimes it's hard, and you got to push through that hard to get there. So go create your opportunities.
The world, there's a great in the shamanic tradition, one of the biggest fundamentals is the world is what you think it is, and that goes along the lines with the opportunities don't happen, you create them. You make the world. You certainly make the experiences that you have in the world. There's no doubt about that. That's scientifically verifiable. Excellent, great. All right, we're going to close up with of course my usual Proverbs 13:7. I really enjoyed this one because it says, one man pretends to be rich yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor yet has great wealth, which is to say, never ever evaluate someone from what they look like on the outside, because you never know what's really going on. And I know Dylan's nodding his head on this. I know that you guys have pulled up credit reports of people that are buying big homes and their credit has been in the toilet, just the worst credit possible, loans up the wazoo. And then you found, the little old lady, so to speak, who's meek and mild, who's worth millions. And you can never guess. So, never judge by that, and that's that. All right, gang. I think that's it. It's been a great show as usual. And Joan says, "Amen" to what Ashliey has been saying, and amen to that indeed. So I want to thank you all for being here. We're going to say goodbye in counterclockwise order. Say goodbye, Ashliey, and then Dylan.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Have a blessed day.
Have an awesome 3-day weekend, everybody.
Have a great one.